Fascinating. Election denialism now seemingly the price of admission to work at the RNC. Elena.
And really didn't have a choice, did he? Or at least that was his feeling.
He didn't really have a choice. I mean, this was a huge disaster where you had some of the biggest stars like Rachel Maddow, Chuck Todd going on the air and rebelling against NBC News' C-suite, saying they made the wrong decision in hiring McDaniel, who not only was an election denier, but actively worked to subvert the 2020 vote alongside Donald Trump. And that did not sit well with the NBC News journalists, with the MSNBC hosts, and you saw them come out and protest on NBC's own air until NBC reversed the decision. I'll read to you what Cesar Conde, the NBC Universal News Group chair, the real big boss over there, emailed to his employees announcing this yesterday. He wrote, "I want to personally apologize to our team members who felt that we let them down. While this was a collective recommendation by some members of our leadership team, I approved it and take full responsibility for it." So NBC hoping to sweep this under the rug and move on. The problem for them is they're now facing a fresh crisis where they're being criticized by the right. So you saw Donald Trump come out and basically characterize them as intolerant, woke leftists. You're seeing that among the Fox News crowd. And so now NBC News is going to have to deal with attacks from the right as it tries to emerge from this crisis. Fred?
All right, Oliver Darcy, thank you so much. All right, a new hour of CNN News Central starts now.
Breaking news this morning, the black box from the ship that caused the deadly collapse in Baltimore has been recovered. We are standing by for new updates on what it tells investigators. And for the first time since the federal raids on two of his homes, entertainment mogul Sean Diddy Combs is speaking out. Two former presidents, one late-night talk show host, and all kinds of stars. The Biden campaign's new effort to excite the base. Kate and Sarah are out. I'm John Berman with Frederica Whitfield today. This is CNN News Central. This morning, the black box from the cargo ship that triggered the deadly collapse of the bridge in Baltimore is now off the ship and in Washington, D.C. A short while ago, the NTSB chair broke the news right here on our show.
Right now, we do have the data recorder, which is essentially the black box. We've sent that back to our lab to evaluate and begin to develop a timeline of events that led up to the strike on the bridge. And we hope to have that information to share with the public later today.
That information, again, due later today. They are also beginning to interview people both on the vessel and on shore. According to the Wall Street Journal, officers on the ship say it experienced a total blackout, engine failure, and they say the smell of burned fuel was everywhere. CNN's Gabe Cohen is live on the scene, where we do also know that divers just got back in the water, Gabe.
Yeah, John, that's right. And I just spoke with the team of Maryland Governor Wes Moore. We're expecting him to come over and give you a live update here in the next couple minutes. But I can tell you, they just relayed to me that so far this morning, no update on that recovery operation. They still have not located any of those 6 missing construction workers, and their teams are really dealing with brutal conditions out there. It is cold out here. There have been winds whipping. There are serious waves in the water right now, choppy waves, and so it is very difficult for the crews that are out on the river trying to find them. And as you mentioned, this investigation is really ramping up today with the NTSB. Their investigators finally boarding the Dolly, getting that black box off. As you mentioned, we are expecting to get a timeline from them later this afternoon. Hopefully that black box will tell them what went wrong that caused that near total blackout on the ship just before the collision. And we are learning much more about the 6 construction workers, their lives. They were members of various communities here in Maryland, for some of them over many years. We have learned about 38-year-old Maynor Yasir Suazo Sandoval. He was an immigrant from Honduras who had been in the United States for the past 18 years, a married father of two, an 18-year-old son, and a 5-year-old daughter. And John, I can tell you, you could feel the heartbreak here in Baltimore over the past 24 hours, and it's only grown since we are learning more of those stories. It is just brutal for so many people to think about the lives that are most likely lost in this terrible tragedy.
It is such a tragedy, and those people, they may have been heroes as well. Gabe Cohen, thank you very much. Fred?
All right, John, this morning, divers are back in the water as they continue the somber and difficult search for the bodies of those missing construction workers. CNN's correspondent Tom Foreman is with us now. So, Tom, they suspended some of the searching overnight. They're back in the water now. How difficult are the conditions?
Well, they're still not great. Obviously, working in the dark is harder, and they have a lot of tools at their hand. They have divers, they have side-scan sonar, which is used for a lot of underwater searching. They had that right from the beginning. But they have to deal with changing currents out there, high tide, low tide, low water temperature. The air temperature and the water temperature were virtually the same at one point this morning, in the high 40s. Not a comfortable temperature to work in, difficult to be there for a long time, poor visibility even in the daytime under the water there. And there is a lot of debris in the water, a tremendous amount is how authorities described it last night, not only in the water, but they've even been worried a little bit about the containers hanging off the ship overhead and how they could fall down. These things could obviously hurt a diver, they could cut air supplies, they could do all sorts of things. So very serious, very difficult work going on there. Not easy either, dealing with the depth. 40 to 60 feet in this area with that low water temperature. So this is a big challenge down there. And remember, because of the shifting currents and the water and the wind, your search area is not necessarily just here. Not only do you have the whole length of the bridge, but as the currents move, your search area can be moving out, and an area you searched is not necessarily the same area in 2 hours as the water moves around, Fred.
All right. And then, Tom, I also understand the White House has pledged support for a robust, very quick recovery assistance in any manner in which it can. What do we know about that?
Well, you know, the goal here is to open what really is a major artery, not just the road, which is important on the East Coast here, but also the waterway below. Look at how long it has taken in the past. So in 1980, the Sunshine Bridge over Sunshine Skyway near Tampa was also hit by a freighter in that case, and it failed. In that case, it took 7 years before they were able to get that all fully reestablished there. Usually, though, and that bridge looks very nice now, usually, though, it doesn't take quite as long. I-35 in Minnesota, 11 months when it collapsed. Pittsburgh, 10 months when it collapsed. I-95 in Pennsylvania, roadway messed up there. Took 2 weeks to get a temporary roadway into place. So the question will be, how fast can they do it here? Hopefully very soon for a lot of people involved. Again, right now, still dealing with the human tragedy, but you know the plans are in the works here, and what the White House is saying is, look, this is a federal priority. This isn't a state issue. This isn't just for Maryland. The country needs us to be working again, and fast. So hopefully that makes a very fast recovery effort.
Yeah, very important transit area. All right, thank you so much, Tom Foreman. John.
All right, with us now is the governor of Maryland, Wes Moore. Governor, thank you so much for being with us. We do know how busy you've been. We have heard from you that divers are back in the water today, engaged in these recovery efforts for those presumed to have been lost. Any updates on those efforts this morning?
You know, well, first, our hearts go out to these families. They are living a nightmare right now, and so when I told them that we would exhaust every single option for the search and rescue to try to bring back survivors. Now that we've transitioned into a recovery mission, I promised them the same, that I will exhaust all options to be able to bring them a sense of closure. And that includes these heroic divers who literally, as we speak, are right now in the water. trying to and working in pitch dark conditions, in frigid temperatures, in high tides and high winds, with mangled metal all around them, who are looking and still searching for these individuals. So I'm thankful for these first responders for the heroic work that they're doing.
Have you had a chance to speak to the families of those presumed lost?
I have. Yesterday I had the chance to spend time with them and prayed with them and prayed for them, and just praying that God can give them a sense of peace. And so that's what we're hoping for right now, that in this moment that we can just bring them a sense of closure after this horrific incident.
These are people who may have lost their lives as heroes, Governor.
Yeah, well, the thing that we know is that these are people who went to work to fill potholes and had no idea that this was going to turn deadly. And for the family members who, when they left when they left their homes, had no idea that this was going to be the final conclusion. And I think about the heroic work of these first responders who, as soon as that Mayday call came in, these first responders went to work and they began to alert the people who were working. They began to move people off of the bridge. They closed off the roads to keep other cars from coming on. These first responders saved countless lives, and we owe them a huge debt of gratitude as a state.
Governor, I know the effort right now is on recovery, and then as soon as that's done, the effort's going to be on opening the channel. There is the issue of accountability, though. As the governor of Maryland, who represents the people of Maryland and those people who were lost, what do you need in terms of accountability if there were warning signs missed or ignored here?
We need to know exactly what happened. That's why I believe there needs to be a full and thorough investigation of what led up to this. What made the ship lose power? What made them lose the ability to be able to steer the ship? Do we have the right infrastructure that's in place to be able to protect the people of our state? So I think there needs to be a full reckoning, a full accountability, and I think we need to go wherever the investigation takes us to make sure that the people of our jurisdictions are safe.
What explanation have you been given so far about why this vessel appears to have lost power?
Well, we don't have anything yet, and I know the investigation is still in its preliminary stages. And this is going to be a long investigation. As we also know, it's going to be a longer recovery process. But it's something that we are all fully committed to making sure that we see through to completion, and we see through to the end, and then have something that we can act on.
What do you want from these companies who run the shipping company? And I know it's a complicated web here because one company owns the ship, another licenses it, the cargo on board may belong to somebody else. But what responsibility do they have if something truly was missed here?
I want accountability. I know that in everything that we do, there's accountability. That someone or something has to be accountable and responsible for what happens, and so we just want to make sure that we are getting, that we are healing what is broken, that we are fixing this type of systems, and we're getting the Port of Baltimore up, back, and going again, that we can bring a measure of closure to these families, and there needs to be accountability to make sure that these things do not happen again, and that we have the systems in place to make sure that they don't.
So some 15,000 workers directly involved on those docks in that port. How long can they keep coming to work if this channel's not open?
And over 140,000 that are indirectly impacted by the Port of Baltimore. And the Port of Baltimore has such a significant economic impact, not just on my state, not just on the state of Maryland, but we're talking about 51 million tons of foreign cargo. That's the largest, so we're the largest port in the country for foreign cargo. We're talking about, cars, heavy trucks, agricultural equipment. We're the #1 port in America for that. It's a top 10 port in the country. So this isn't just about the impact this is going to have on Maryland's economy. This is the impact it's going to have on our country's economy. This is the farmer in Kentucky. It's the auto dealer in Michigan. And so we've got to prioritize being able to get that bridge rebuilt, to get this port and get this channel reopened, and having the Port of Baltimore be the gift to this country that the Port of Baltimore has always been.
Anyone been able to give you an estimate as to when ships may be able to move in and out?